The transport ship moved slowly through the darkness of space. Inside, Captain Taman Park stood near the window, watching the massive structure ahead grow larger with each passing moment. The Galactic Council chamber was enormous, built from materials that seemed to shine with their own light. It looked ancient and powerful, like something from a dream. Taman was a tall man with short black hair and calm eyes. He wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's Space Command, with silver lines on his shoulders that showed his rank. He had been a pilot, then a commander, and now he was leading humanity's first official meeting with the galactic community. The weight of this responsibility sat heavy on his shoulders. Behind him, Jiwoo Kim studied her datapad. She was humanity's top diplomat, smart and careful with words. Her dark hair was pulled back neatly, and she wore a gray suit that looked professional but not too fancy. She had spent months preparing for this meeting, learning about the 7 alien civilizations that ruled the galaxy. The Vraxians will speak first, Jiwoo said quietly. They are the military power, then the Keltorians, who control most of the trade routes. We should expect challenges from both. Sung-Ho Lee stood near the door, his arms crossed. He was the military advisor, a man who had fought in 3 colony wars. His face was hard, with a scar above his left eye. Let them challenge us, he said. We didn't come here to beg. Taman turned from the window. We came here to join their council. To be part of the galactic community, we need to be smart, not proud. Sung-Ho nodded but said nothing more. He didn't like this situation. Humans had built colonies on 12 worlds, fought off pirates, and survived things that would have destroyed weaker species. Now they had to ask permission from aliens who thought they were better than everyone else. The ship docked with a soft bump. A voice came through the speakers, speaking in a language that the translation device changed into Korean. Earth delegation, you may enter the council chamber. The 3 humans walked through the corridors of the station. The walls were covered in symbols and writing from dozens of languages. They passed several aliens in the hallways. Some were tall and thin, with skin like blue glass. Others were short and covered in fur. A few looked almost human, but with strange eyes or extra fingers. None of them smiled. None of them spoke to the humans. Some pointed and whispered to each other. Taman kept his face calm, but he noticed everything. Finally, they reached the council chamber. The doors opened and the 3 humans stepped inside. The room was circular and huge. 7 platforms floated in the air, each one holding a different alien leader. In the center was an empty space where visitors could stand. Light came from everywhere and nowhere, making the whole room glow. Taman walked to the center spot. Jiwoo and Sung-Ho stood behind him. He looked up at the 7 leaders and bowed his head slightly, showing respect. Leaders of the Galactic Council, Taman said, his voice steady. I am Captain Taman Park of Earth. We come before you to request membership in the Council. Humanity wishes to join the community of galactic civilizations. For a moment there was silence. Then, from the highest platform came a sound like rocks grinding together. It was laughter. The Vraxian Prime Minister was laughing. The Vraxian was massive, with gray skin like stone and eyes that glowed red. When it spoke, its voice was deep and harsh. Membership? You think you are ready for membership? More laughter came from the other platforms. The Keltorian ambassador, a being that looked like it was made of flowing water, spoke next. Humanity has been in space for what? 200 years? We have been traveling the stars for 50,000 years. You are children, another voice said. This one came from a creature covered in sharp, crystal-like growths. Children playing with toys they barely understand. Taman felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his voice calm. We may be young, but we have proven ourselves capable. We have established colonies, developed advanced technology, and advanced. The Vraxian laughed again, and this time all 7 leaders joined in. The sound filled the chamber, bouncing off the walls. You have barely learned to leave your own world. You still fight wars among yourselves. You are barely evolved primates who got lucky enough to find a few scraps of technology. Jiwoo stepped forward slightly, her face red. With respect, we have accomplished much in our short time in space. We have respect? The Keltorian's watery form rippled with amusement. You want respect? Earn it. Come back in 10,000 years, and perhaps we will listen to you. Sung-Ho's hand moved to his side where his weapon would normally be, but they had been required to come unarmed. His eyes were hard as stone. The Vraxian Prime Minister raised one massive hand and the laughter stopped. However, we are not completely without mercy. We will offer you probationary status, Taemin waited. This was what Jiwoo had warned him about. The council never offered membership easily. There was always a price. Earth will pay annual tribute to the council, the Vraxian continued. 5% of your gross planetary production. You will share all technological advances with the council immediately. You will accept observer bases on all your colony worlds staffed by our military forces, and you will have no voting rights on any council matters for 500 years. 500 years? Jiwoo's voice was sharp. A small time for us, the Keltorian said. We think in terms of millennia. For you, it is perhaps, 20 generations? Consider it a learning period. And if we refuse? Taemin asked. The chamber grew cold. The Vraxian leaned forward on his platform. Then Earth will be declared a restricted zone. No trade with any council species. No access to hyperspace lanes. No protection from hostile forces. You will be alone in a very large, very dangerous galaxy. Taemin looked at each of the 7 leaders. Their faces showed no doubt, no hesitation. They believed completely that humans had no choice. They thought humanity would either accept these terms or be crushed. We need time to consider your offer, Taemin said finally. You have 30 days, the Vraxian said. Return here with your answer. Accept our generous terms or face the consequences of your pride. The Keltorian added, We suggest you choose wisely. Many species have tried to stand alone. None have succeeded. Taemin bowed again, but this time there was no respect in it. It was just emotion, empty and cold. 30 days. We will return with our answer. He turned and walked toward the exit. Jiwoo and Sung-ho followed him. Behind them, the aliens began talking among themselves, their voices full of amusement. As they walked through the corridors back to their ship, Sung-ho spoke quietly. They think we're nothing. Less than nothing. Yes, Taemin said. Are we going to accept their terms? Jiwoo asked. Taemin stopped walking and turned to look at both of them. His eyes were hard. No, we're not going to accept. And we're not going to refuse. We're going to give them an answer they never expected. Just then, a small figure stepped out from a side corridor. It was one of the aliens they had seen earlier, with thin limbs and large eyes. It looked around nervously, then spoke quickly in a whisper. I am Velothus of the Thanari. I should not speak to you, but I must warn you. The council underestimates you because you are young. They think age equals wisdom. That is their weakness. Use it. Before any of the humans could respond, Velothus disappeared back into the corridor. Taemin, Jiwoo, and Sung-ho exchanged glances. Then they continued to their ship. They had 30 days to come up with an answer that would change everything. The journey back to Earth took 6 days. During that time, Taemin barely slept. He spent hours reviewing every piece of information they had about the Galactic Council, looking for anything they could use. Jiwoo worked beside him, her datapad always in her hands. Sung-ho paced the ship like a caged animal, angry but controlled. When their ship finally entered Earth's atmosphere, news feeds were already full of the story. Someone had leaked information about the meeting. The entire planet was talking about the Council's demands. Their ship landed at the Coalition headquarters in Seoul. It was night, but the building was blazing with light. Every window showed people working, moving, arguing. The whole government was awake. Taemin and his team were rushed immediately to the main conference room. President Hee-jin Choi was already there, sitting at the head of a long table. She was a woman in her 50s, with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Around the table sat the most powerful people on Earth. Captain Park, President Choi said as they entered. Tell us everything. Taemin stood at attention and gave his report. He left nothing out. The laughter, the insults, the impossible demands. When he finished, the room was silent for a long moment. Then the shouting began. Dong-Hyun Kang, the military chief, slammed his hand on the table. This is an insult. They treat us like animals. We should reject their offer completely and prepare for isolation. We've survived without them before. We can do it again. Bo Ra-yoon, the economic minister, shook her head quickly. Isolation will destroy our economy. Half our colonies depend on materials from neutral traders who follow council regulations. Without access to the hyperspace lanes, our shipping costs will increase by 400%. We'll face shortages within a year. Better to face shortages than slavery, Dong-Hyun shot back. It's not slavery, Bo-ra argued. It's politics. Many species have accepted probationary terms before gaining full membership. For 500 years? Dong-hyun's voice was harsh. With military bases on our colonies. With no say in any decisions? That's not probation. That's occupation. The argument continued, voices rising. President Choi let them talk for a few minutes, then raised her hand. Everyone fell silent immediately. We need solutions, not arguments, she said quietly. Captain Park, you said you wanted to give them an answer they wouldn't expect. What did you mean? Taemin stepped forward. We don't beg and we don't hide. We show them what humanity does best. And what is that? The president asked. We adapt. We survive. We innovate. Taemin looked around the table. The council species are old. They've been using the same technology, the same tactics, the same thinking for thousands of years. They've forgotten how to change because they haven't needed to. But we're young. We're still learning. That's our advantage. An advantage? Bora looked doubtful. They have ships that can cross the galaxy in days. They have weapons that can destroy planets. They have knowledge we can't even imagine. How is being young an advantage? Before Taemin could answer, the door opened. A man in a white lab coat hurried in, looking nervous. He was young, maybe 30, with messy hair and tired eyes. His name was Jae-sung Cho, and he was one of Earth's top engineers. I'm sorry I'm late, Jae-sung said quickly. I came as soon as I got the message. Dr. Cho, President Choi said. Please sit. We need your expertise. Jae-sung sat down and pulled out a small device. He pressed a button and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed a spacecraft, but unlike any design the council used. It was smaller, with strange angles and sections that looked like they could move. What is this? President Choi asked. This is Project Defiance, Jae-sung said. We've been working on it for 3 years in secret. It started after we recovered wreckage from an alien ship that crashed near our Mars colony. Everyone leaned forward. This was news to most of them. Jae-sung continued. We reverse-engineered their technology, but we didn't just copy it. We improved it, made it different. Alien technology is stable and predictable. It's refined over thousands of years to be efficient and safe. But our approach is different. We made our systems adaptive. Explain, President Choi said. Jae-sung touched the device again and the hologram zoomed in on the ship's core. The council species use artificial intelligence that follows programmed algorithms. Very advanced algorithms, yes, but still programmed. Our AI learns in real time. It creates new solutions on the fly. It doesn't just respond to situations. It predicts them and adapts before they happen. Dong-hyun leaned forward. What about weapons? The weapon systems are modular, Jae-sung explained. They can reconfigure during combat based on what the enemy is doing. If the enemy has strong shields, the weapons automatically switch to a different frequency. If the enemy uses speed, the weapons predict movement patterns and adjust. And the engine? Asked a woman from the Science Council. That's the best part, Jae-sung said, his eyes bright with excitement. Council ships use hyperspace lanes. Fixed routes through space that are safe and well mapped. Our jump drive doesn't need lanes. It can go anywhere. It's less stable, more dangerous, but it's unpredictable. No one can track our route or predict where we'll appear. Sung-ho spoke for the first time. Have you tested it? Jae-sung hesitated.
In simulations, yes.
It works perfectly, but we haven't done a real-world test yet. We were waiting for approval and funding. You'll have both, President Choi said immediately. What else do you need? A pilot, Jae-sung said. Someone who can think fast and doesn't rely on standard tactics. Someone creative. From the back of the room, a voice spoke up. I'll do it. Everyone turned. A woman in a flight suit stood up. Her name was Sujin Han, and she was one of Earth's best combat pilots. She had won 3 colony defense medals and survived situations that had killed dozens of other pilots. Commander Han, Taemin said, you understand this is untested technology? The risk is, I understand, Sujin interrupted. Her voice was calm and steady. I also understand that if we don't take risks now, we'll be taking orders from aliens who laugh at us for the next 500 years. I'd rather risk my life than accept that. President Choi nodded slowly. Then we have a ship and a pilot. But we need a plan. Captain Park, what exactly are you proposing? Taemin walked around the table, his mind working through the details. In 30 days, we return to the council. We tell them we reject their terms. Before they can respond, we offer them a challenge. A demonstration of human capability, a combat simulation between their best pilot and ours. If we lose, we accept their terms. If we win, we negotiate as equals. They'll never agree to that, Bora said. Why would they? They have all the power. Because they're arrogant, Jiwoo said suddenly. Everyone looked at her. She had been quiet until now. They think we're primitives. They think we're weak. If we challenge them, they'll accept just to humiliate us publicly. They'll want to show the entire galaxy how superior they are. Sung-ho nodded. They won't be able to resist. Their pride won't let them. But if we lose, Bora said slowly, we'll be in an even worse position. We'll have proven their point. Then we don't lose, Sujin said simply. President Choi looked at each person around the table. Then she looked at Taemin. You really think this can work? Yes, Madam President. The Council has forgotten what it's like to face an opponent who doesn't think like they do. We're unpredictable because we're young. We break rules because we don't know all the rules yet. That's our weapon. The President was quiet for a long time. The room waited. Finally, she spoke. We have 30 days. Dr. Cho, you'll have unlimited resources and personnel. Build that ship and make sure it works. Commander Han, you'll work with Dr. Cho every day. Learn that ship inside and out. Captain Park, you'll coordinate the mission. And Jiwoo, yes, Madam President, you'll write a speech. The speech we'll give to the Council. It needs to be perfect. Strong but not aggressive. Confident but not arrogant. It needs to make them believe we're serious. I'll have it ready, Jiwoo promised. President Choi stood up, and everyone stood with her. This is the most important moment in human history. If we succeed, we join the galactic community as equals. If we fail, she paused. If we fail, we face isolation or worse. But either way, we face it with dignity. We show them that humanity doesn't beg. Is everyone clear? Yes, Madam President, they all said together. As the meeting ended and people began to leave, Taemin caught Sujin at the door. Commander Han, he said quietly, thank you for volunteering. But you need to understand, this isn't just about flying well. You'll be facing someone who has trained for centuries, flying technology refined for millennia. You'll need to do more than be good. You'll need to be different, Sujin smiled. It was a small smile, but it reached her eyes. Captain Park, I've been flying different my whole life. The Academy said I was too risky. My commander said I broke too many rules. Maybe that's exactly what we need. She walked away, leaving Taemin standing in the doorway. He watched her go and felt, for the first time since leaving the council chamber, a small spark of hope. Maybe humanity's youth wasn't a weakness after all. Maybe it was exactly what they needed to change the galaxy forever. The 30 days passed like a storm. All across Earth and its colonies, people worked day and night. In the orbital shipyard above Earth, Jae Sung-cho barely slept. His team of engineers worked in shifts, building and rebuilding the Defiance. Every system had to be perfect. Every calculation had to be exact. Sujin Han spent every waking moment in the simulator. She flew the Defiance through thousands of scenarios, enemy ambushes, equipment failures, impossible odds. The ship's AI learned from her and she learned from it. They became partners, thinking together, moving together. Jiwoo Kim wrote and rewrote her speech 100 times. Each word had to be chosen carefully. Too aggressive and they would look like warmongers. Too soft and they would look weak. She studied every recording of galactic negotiations, learning how the council thought, how they spoke, what they valued. Taemin coordinated everything. He checked on the engineering team, reviewed Sujin's training progress, edited Jiwoo's speech drafts, and handled the 1,000 small problems that appeared every day. He also dealt with the media. Every news channel wanted to know what humanity would do. Some called for acceptance. Some called for defiance. Most just wanted answers. On the 28th day, Jae-sung declared the Defiance ready. On the 29th day, Sujin completed her final simulation with a perfect score. On the 30th day, they left Earth. The same transport ship that had carried them before now carried them back to the Galactic Council. But this time the Defiance flew alongside them, its strange angular shape standing out against the darkness of space. Inside the transport, Taemin stood with Jiwoo and Sung-ho. Sujin was in the Defiance with Jae-sung and a small support crew. Are you ready? Taemin asked Jiwoo. She held her datapad, but her hands were steady. I'm ready. The speech is memorized. I know what to say if they interrupt, if they refuse, if they accept. They'll accept, Sung-ho said confidently. Their pride won't let them refuse a challenge from primitives. The transport docked with the council station. The three humans walked the same corridors they had walked 30 days before. But this time more aliens stopped to stare. Word had spread. The humans were back and they had brought something with them. The council chamber doors opened. The 7 leaders floated on their platforms exactly as before. But this time the room was more crowded. Dozens of other aliens stood along the walls watching. Representatives from minor species, council staff, military observers. Everyone wanted to see what the humans would do. Taemin walked to the center position. Jiwoo and Sungho stood behind him. He looked up at the Vraxian Prime Minister and bowed his head just slightly. Leaders of the Galactic Council, Taemin said, his voice carrying through the chamber. We have returned with our answer to your offer. Have you come to accept our generous terms? The Vraxian asked. His voice suggested he already knew the answer and found it amusing. No, Taemin said simply. We respectfully decline your offer. Murmurs ran through the watching crowd. The Keltorian ambassador rippled with what might have been surprise or anger. Then you choose isolation, the Vraxian said. You choose to stand alone against a hostile galaxy. This is foolish. Perhaps, Taemin agreed. But before you make your final judgment, we would like to offer you something. You have nothing we want, the crystal-covered alien said dismissively. We offer you a demonstration, Taemin continued as if the alien hadn't spoken. A demonstration of human capability. We challenge your finest military pilot to a combat simulation. 1 ship against 1 ship. If we lose, we will accept your original terms without complaint. If we win, we request that you negotiate with us as equals. The chamber erupted in noise, aliens speaking in dozens of languages, their translation devices creating a chaos of sound. The 7 council leaders looked at each other. Then the Vraxian began to laugh. It was the same grinding, rocky laugh from before. You challenge us? You who have been in space for barely 2 centuries. You think you can defeat our warriors? We're willing to find out, Taemin said calmly. The Vraxian leaned forward on his platform. His red eyes seemed to burn. And when you lose? When your pilot is defeated in minutes? You will accept 500 years of probation? Yes, Taemin said. But we want it official. Witnessed by all council species. Recorded and recognized. Done, the Vraxian said immediately. He looked to the other council leaders. Does anyone object? The Keltorian spoke. This is unusual. Challenges are traditionally between species of similar age and capability. Are you afraid we'll lose? Taemin asked quietly. Afraid it will waste your time? The insult was subtle but clear. The watching aliens gasped. No one spoke to the council that way. The Keltorian's watery form churned angrily. We fear nothing from you. If you want to be humiliated publicly, that is your choice. Then it's agreed, the Vraxian said. He seemed pleased, like a predator that had just spotted easy prey. We will send our War Master's personal champion, Korathax, undefeated in 1,000 duels. He flies a ship refined over 10,000 years of warfare. Who do you send against him? Commander Sujin Han, Taemin said. And the ship Defiance. The Vraxian laughed again. Defiance. How appropriate. The simulation will take place in 1 hour in the neutral combat zone. Standard rules. Weapon safeties engaged. First ship to achieve a killing blow wins. The entire council will watch. The entire galaxy will watch. Agreed, Taemin said. 1 hour later, 2 ships floated in empty space. Around them, hundreds of other ships formed a massive circle, all watching. Council warships, merchant vessels, research craft. Everyone wanted to see the challenge. In the Defiance, Sujin sat in the pilot's seat. Her hands rested lightly on the controls. Jae-sung sat behind her at the engineering station. All systems are running perfectly, Jae-sung reported. The AI is active and learning. Weapons are configured and ready to reconfigure as needed. Good, Sujin said. She took a deep breath and let it out slowly. Her heartbeat was steady. Her mind was clear. She had trained for this. She was ready, on the viewing platform where Taemin, Jiwoo, and Sungho stood with hundreds of aliens. A massive holographic display showed both ships. The Vraxian War Master stood nearby, his massive form blocking the view of several smaller aliens. Korathax has never been defeated. He is the finest pilot in the Vraxian fleet. Your commander will learn what it means to face true skill. We'll see, Sungho said quietly. Across the space between ships, Korathax sat in his cockpit. He was Vraxian like his War Master, but smaller, leaner. His ship was sleek and perfect, every line designed for maximum efficiency. He had flown this ship for 200 years. He knew every system, every capability, every possible maneuver. He looked at the human ship on his display. It was crude compared to his vessel. Awkward angles. Inefficient design. This would be over quickly. A voice spoke across all channels. Combat simulation will begin in 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7. Sujin's fingers tightened slightly on the controls. 3, 2, 1. Begin. Both ships exploded into motion. Korathax moved exactly as he had trained. Standard combat approach. Maximum efficiency. His ship's computer calculated the optimal firing solution in microseconds. His weapons locked onto the human ship. But the human ship wasn't where his computer said it should be. Sujin had rolled the Defiance the instant the simulation began. Not in any standard evasive pattern, but at a random angle that made no tactical sense. Her AI registered Korathax's lock and instantly adjusted the ship's heat signature to throw off his targeting. Korathax fired anyway. His shots missed by centimeters. He adjusted his approach using Maneuver Pattern 7, a proven tactic that had won him hundreds of victories. But Pattern 7 assumed the enemy would respond with Counter Pattern 3 or 9. The human didn't use either. She accelerated straight toward the debris field that made up part of the combat zone. Korathax followed, confident. Debris fields were tricky, but his ship's computer could calculate safe paths through them instantly. Sujin flew straight into the thickest part of the debris. Broken asteroid chunks, old satellite fragments, pieces of destroyed ships. She wove between them not by calculation but by instinct and reaction. Her AI helped, but she was the one making the choices. Korathax followed, his computer guiding him through the safest path. The most efficient path. That was his mistake. Sujin wasn't taking the safest path. She was taking the most unpredictable path. She flew close to a large chunk of debris, and as Korathax came around it, she was waiting. Her weapons had reconfigured to a tight beam setting. She fired. The shot missed, but not by accident. It hit the debris behind Korathax, shattering it into thousands of smaller pieces. His ship's shields activated automatically, protecting him, but now his sensors were confused by all the fragments. Sujin used those 3 seconds to reposition. When Korathax's sensors cleared, she was above him, where his shields were weakest, but Korathax was good. He rolled and fired in one smooth motion. His shot should have hit. Sujin's AI had predicted it. The Defiance's engine stuttered, looking like a malfunction. Korathax's shot passed through the space where the ship would have been if it had kept moving normally. On the viewing platform, the Vraxian War Master's eyes narrowed. What was that? Equipment failure? Suggested another alien. No, Sung-Ho said, watching closely. The council chamber was closed to outsiders now. Only the 7 leaders remained, floating on their platforms in the circular room. The light seemed dimmer somehow, or perhaps it was just the mood. The Vraxian Prime Minister had not spoken for several minutes. He simply stared at the holographic replay of the combat simulation, watching it again and again. Watching his champion, undefeated for centuries, lose to a human who had been flying in space for less than 20 years. This should not have been possible, he finally said. His voice was quiet, which somehow made it more frightening than when he shouted. Yet it happened, the Keltorian ambassador said. The watery being's form was unusually still. We all watched it happen. There can be no doubt. A third council member spoke. This was Ambassador Kel, a being made of living metal that shifted and changed as it thought. I have reviewed the combat data 17 times. The human pilot made 43 maneuvers that are not in any known tactical database. She violated standard combat doctrine in 62 separate instances. And won, said another voice. This was High Speaker Nell, who looked almost human except for the silver skin and 3 eyes. She violated doctrine and won. Against our finest pilot, how? The Vraxian slammed his massive fist against his platform, making it shake. Korathax flew perfectly. Every move was correct. Every tactic was sound. He should have won easily. Perhaps that is the problem, said a quiet voice. Everyone turned to look at the speaker. It was Velothus of the Thenari, the same alien who had secretly warned the humans before. He was small compared to the others, with thin limbs and large eyes. His people were the record keepers of the council, observers more than participants. Explain yourself, the Vraxian demanded. This moved his hands in a gesture that might have been nervousness or apology. Korathax flew perfectly by our standards. Standards developed over tens of thousands of years. Standards that every species in this council follows. We all fight the same way because we've all been taught the same lessons. Those lessons won us 1,000 wars, the Vraxian said. Against opponents who learned the same lessons, This replied gently. What happens when you face an opponent who doesn't know the lessons? Who hasn't been taught that maneuver pattern 42 is the optimal response to a flanking attack? Who doesn't know that you're never supposed to fly into debris fields or fake equipment malfunctions, or waste energy on unpredictable movements? The Keltorian ambassador rippled thoughtfully. They fight inefficiently. They fight differently, Velothus corrected. And different can be just as dangerous as powerful. Ambassador Kel shifted through several forms before settling on one. I have analyzed the human ship as well. Their technology is less refined than ours. Their weapons are less powerful. Their shields are weaker. By every measurable standard, their ship was inferior. And yet their pilot won, High Speaker Nell said, which means the ship wasn't the deciding factor. It was their artificial intelligence, Kel continued. We have been studying AI for millennia. Our systems are stable, predictable, efficient. They follow algorithms refined over thousands of years. The human AI doesn't follow algorithms. It creates them in real time. During the battle, it developed 17 completely new tactical responses that had never existed before. The Vraxian was quiet for a moment, thinking, so their advantage is unpredictability. Chaos masquerading as strategy. Not chaos, Velothus said. Adaptation. There is a difference. He pulled up another hologram showing Earth's history. The humans are the first species to reach spacefaring status, while still actively fighting among themselves. Every other species in this council achieved global peace before reaching the stars. The Vraxians did it 50,000 years ago, the Keltorians 40,000 years ago. Even my people, the youngest before humans, achieved peace 20,000 years ago. What is your point? The Vraxian asked impatiently. My point is that humans brought war with them to the stars. They've been fighting continuously for their entire existence. They don't see combat as something ancient and historical. They see it as something immediate and necessary. And war breeds innovation in a way that peace does not. High Speaker Nell's three eyes focused on the Earth data. Look at their technological development. From their first powered flight to space travel took only 66 years. From space travel to interstellar colonies took another 38 years. They accomplished in a century what took most species thousands of years. Because they were desperate, the Keltorian said. They nearly destroyed themselves multiple times. Nuclear weapons, environmental collapse, resource wars. They reached for the stars because they were running out of room on their own planet. Exactly, Velothus said. Desperation drives innovation. Safety breeds stagnation. We are old, comfortable, and set in our ways. They are young, desperate, and constantly changing. The chamber fell silent again. These were uncomfortable truths. The council species had ruled the galaxy for so long that they had forgotten what it was like to struggle, to adapt, to innovate out of necessity rather than curiosity. What do we do now? Ambassador Kel asked. We made an agreement. If the human won, we would negotiate as equals. We cannot do that, the Vraxian said flatly. If we grant humans equal status after only 200 years in space, we undermine the entire foundation of the council. Other young species will demand the same treatment. Chaos will follow. If we break our word, High Speaker Nell said carefully, we lose credibility. Honor matters even in politics. Especially in politics, the Keltorian added. If word spreads that we refuse to honor our agreements, every treaty we've ever made comes into question. The Vraxian growled, a sound like rocks grinding. So we're trapped. Honor the agreement and look weak, or break it and look dishonest. There is a third option, Velothus said. Everyone looked at him. We honor the agreement but control it. Offer them full membership but with conditions that protect our interests. Give them a seat at the table but make sure we keep the keys to the room. Explain, the Vraxian said. Velothus pulled up new data. We offer them genuine membership, full voting rights, access to council resources, recognition as equals. But we also require technology exchange, observer programs, and mutual defense treaties. We bring them into the council in a way that lets us watch them, learn from them, and limit their potential threat. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer, High Speaker Nell quoted from an old Earth saying that the translation database had picked up. Are they enemies? The Keltorian asked. We don't know yet, Velothus said honestly. That's why we need to keep them close. If they prove to be a threat, we'll know early. If they prove to be valuable allies, we benefit from their innovation. Either way, we're better off with them inside the council than outside it. Ambassador Kell shifted thoughtfully. There is logic in this approach, but it requires us to admit that humans are dangerous, not because they're powerful, but because they're different. They are dangerous, said a new voice. Everyone turned. Standing at the entrance to the chamber was Korathax, the Vraxian pilot who had lost the challenge. He had not been invited, but no one told him to leave. The Vraxian Prime Minister regarded him. You fought them, Korathax. Tell us what you learned. The pilot walked forward slowly. He looked tired, and there was something else in his expression. Something the others hadn't seen from him before. Respect. I learned that I have been fighting the same battles for 200 years, Korathax said. Perfect execution of perfect tactics against opponents who respond in perfect, predictable ways. The human pilot didn't fight perfectly. She made mistakes. Real mistakes, not tactical feints. But she turned those mistakes into opportunities. How? The Vraxian asked. I don't know, Korathax admitted. That's what makes them dangerous. When I made a mistake, I knew how to recover because I'd been trained in recovery procedures. When she made a mistake, she invented a recovery procedure on the spot. And it worked. He pulled up another hologram showing a specific moment in the battle. Here, at minute 6. She took damage to her port thrusters. A minor hit, but it affected her maneuverability. By doctrine, she should have pulled back and compensated with attitude control. Instead, she used the damaged thruster's irregular output to create an unpredictable flight pattern. She turned a weakness into a weapon. The council members studied the hologram silently. I have a question, Korathax said. When I was fighting her, I felt something I haven't felt in a century. I felt challenged. I felt alive. She wasn't just trying to win. She was trying to prove something. Prove what? High Speaker Nell asked. That they belong here. That they deserve respect. That being young doesn't mean being weak. Korathax looked at each council member, and she did prove it. At least to me. The Vraxian Prime Minister studied his pilot for a long moment. You think we should honor the agreement? I think we should be honest with ourselves, Korathax said. We called them primitives. We laughed at them. We offered them terms that were designed to humiliate them. And they responded by beating us at our own game. If we break our word now, we prove that our honor only exists when it's convenient. More silence filled the chamber. Finally, the Vraxian spoke. Very well. We will honor the agreement, but on our terms. He looked at Velothus. The humans were summoned to the council chamber exactly 24 hours after the combat simulation. Taemin walked through the corridors with Jiwoo and Sungho beside him. They had spent the night preparing for every possible outcome. Acceptance, rejection, deception, even violence, though Sungho assured them that was unlikely. Sujin had returned to the Defiance with Jae-sung. Her job was done. Now it was up to the diplomats. When they entered the chamber, it looked different. The 7 platforms were arranged the same way, but the lighting was brighter. The watching crowd from before was gone. This meeting was private, official. Taemin stood in the center position and bowed. This time the gesture felt less empty. Something had changed. He could feel it. Captain Taemin Park, the Vraxian Prime Minister said. His voice was formal, controlled. You issued a challenge. Your pilot won. According to our agreement, we will now negotiate with humanity as equals. Taemin felt his heart beat faster, but he kept his face calm. We are honored. However, the Vraxian continued, the Council has spent considerable time discussing what equality means in this context. You are a young species. You have capabilities we did not expect. But you also lack experience in galactic politics, diplomacy, and the complex relationships between Council species. We're willing to learn, Jiwoo said. We know, the Keltorian ambassador said. The watery being seemed calmer today. Your willingness to learn is part of why we've reached our decision. We offer you full membership in the Galactic Council, with all rights and responsibilities that entails. Taemin, Jiwoo, and Sungho exchanged quick glances. This was better than they had hoped. But there had to be conditions. There were always conditions. What are the terms? Taemin asked. High Speaker Nell spoke next. Full membership includes voting rights on all council matters, access to council technology databases and trade networks, diplomatic immunity for your representatives, protection under council military agreements, and a formal seat on this council equal to any other species. That sounds generous, Jiwoo said carefully. What do you require in return? Ambassador Kell's metallic form shifted. Technology exchange. You will share your artificial intelligence research with the Council Science Division. In return, we will share our hyperspace navigation data and energy generation techniques. Taman nodded slowly. This was expected. What else? Observer programs, the Vraxian said. You will accept Council observers on Earth and your major colonies. Not military bases as we originally demanded. Observers, diplomats and scientists who will help you integrate into galactic society. In return, you may send your own observers to any council world. And? Sung-ho prompted. There was more. There had to be more. The Vraxian paused. A mutual non-aggression pact. You will not attack council species. Council species will not attack you. Any disputes will be settled through arbitration, not warfare. This pact must be public and binding. We can accept that, Taman said. Are there other conditions? Velodis spoke for the first time. One more. A probationary review in 50 years. This is not like our original offer. You will have full membership immediately. But after 50 years, the Council will evaluate Earth's integration and decide whether any adjustments are needed to the treaty. This is standard for all new members. It is not, the Keltorian said quietly. Velodis speaks generously. This is new policy, created specifically for humanity. We've never had a species join the Council so young. We want to ensure the relationship benefits everyone. Taman understood what wasn't being said. The Council was taking a risk. They were betting that humanity would be valuable enough to justify breaking their own traditions, but they wanted an exit strategy if things went wrong. 50 years, Taman said thoughtfully. That's 2 human generations. But barely a moment for most of you. Yes, the Vraxian said. Which is why we believe it's fair. Long enough for you to prove yourselves. Short enough for us to make corrections if necessary. Jiwoo leaned close to Taman and whispered, It's a good offer. Better than we expected. But we should negotiate. If we accept too easily, they'll think we're desperate. Taman nodded slightly. He looked up at the 7 council leaders. We need to discuss this among ourselves. May we have time to consider your offer? You have 1 hour, the Vraxian said. The 3 humans were shown to a private room. As soon as the door closed, Sung-ho spoke. It's a trap. They're offering us everything we wanted, which means they're planning something. Maybe, Jiwoo said. Or maybe they're genuinely trying to compromise. The technology exchange benefits both sides. The observers go both ways. The non-aggression pact protects us as much as them. What about the 50-year review? Sung-ho asked. That's the smart part, Jiwoo admitted. It gives them a way out if we become a problem. But it also gives us time to prove ourselves. And 50 years is nothing in galactic politics. Other species wait thousands of years for this opportunity. Taman walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, humanity's home, billions of people waiting to hear what would happen next. What do you think Commander Han would do? He asked suddenly. Sung-ho smiled slightly. She'd take the risk. She'd bet on humanity being able to prove itself in 50 years. And Jae-sung? Taman asked. He'd analyze every detail and find 12 ways it could go wrong, Jiwoo said. But then he'd build something to fix all 12 problems. Taemin turned back to face them. The council made a mistake 30 days ago. They judged us by our age instead of our potential. They assumed we would accept humiliation or face destruction. They didn't expect us to create a third option. And now, Jiwoo asked, now they're making a different kind of mistake. They're assuming that 50 years is enough time to control us or understand us. They think we'll either fail their probation or become like them. Taemin smiled. They still don't understand humanity. So we accept? Sung-ho asked. We accept, Taemin said. But we counteroffer on one condition. What condition? Jiwoo asked, pulling out her datapad. The technology exchange needs to be specific, Taemin said. They want our AI research. Fine, but we specify exactly which generation of AI, which applications, which limitations. We're not giving them everything. And in return, we specify exactly which hyperspace and energy technologies we want. We make sure this exchange is balanced and clear. Jiwoo nodded, already making notes. That's smart. It shows we're not desperate, and that we understand the value of what we're offering. Anything else? Sung Ho asked. Yes, Taemin said. We ask that the probationary review is public, not just a private council decision. If they're going to judge us in 50 years, the whole galaxy should see it. That protects us from being judged unfairly. They might not agree to that, Jiwoo warned. Then we'll know they're not negotiating in good faith, Taemin said, and we'll reconsider the whole offer. 50 minutes later, they returned to the council chamber. Leaders of the Galactic Council, Taemin said formally. We accept your offer of full membership with 2 additional conditions. The Vraxian leaned forward. Speak. Taemin outlined the technology exchange specifications and the public review requirement. He spoke clearly and confidently. These weren't demands. They were reasonable requests from an equal partner. The council leaders conferred quietly among themselves for several minutes. Finally, the Vraxian spoke. Your requests are acceptable. The technology exchange will be specified in detail by our respective science teams, and the 50-year review will be public, witnessed by all council species and recorded for historical archives. Then we accept, Taemin said. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then the Vraxian stood up on his platform, something Taemin had never seen him do before. It seemed significant, then let it be recorded. The Galactic Council recognizes Earth and humanity as a full member species, with all rights and responsibilities. Welcome to the Council, Captain Taemin Park. One by one, the other 6 leaders stood as well. It was a gesture of respect, of recognition. The young species that they had mocked 30 days ago was now their equal. Jiwoo let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Sung Ho's shoulders relaxed slightly. Taemin bowed deeply. We are honored. Humanity will strive to be worthy of this trust. As the formal ceremony continued and documents were signed and official announcements were prepared, Fellow-this approached the humans privately. Congratulations, he said quietly. You achieved something remarkable. Thank you, Taemin said. And thank you for your warning before. It helped us understand what we were facing. Fellow-this made a gesture that might have been a smile. I'm curious about something, Captain. What will humanity do now? You have 50 years to prove yourselves. How will you do it? Taemin thought for a moment. We'll do what we've always done. We'll adapt. We'll learn. We'll grow. And we'll show the galaxy that youth isn't a weakness. The Council fears that, Velothus said softly. They fear that humanity will change the galaxy. Change isn't always bad, Jiwoo said. No, Velothus agreed. But it's always difficult, especially for those who've been comfortable for thousands of years. He looked at them seriously. Your people are dangerous not because you're aggressive, but because you refuse to accept limits. The galaxy has been stable for millennia,